Series of strange. I had some pretty weird stories over the years, especially when playing guitar. There would be people, very drunk, come sit beside me, natter something unintelligible, smoke a cigarette, then wander off. I've had people stare at me behind light poles for good 20-30 minutes. Another one was where a lady handed me $600, said she invested in Bitcoin years ago, had more than she knew what to do with. Another was meeting Kai, Hatchet Wilding hitchhiker. He came to town several years before then. Summer, there he was. He was, as you see him in videos when he was drunk or high. Last I talked to him, he was sober, off everything, even sugar, coffee, and headed west to surf. Then didn't come back the next year. Then he was on the news. Jimmy Kimmel. Was really weird. Another was meeting what we call rollerblading guitar guy. I knew him for few years, always stopped to talk to me playing. He had weird ideas of holistic eating and healthy soul whatever, had a pamphlet carried everywhere. Said he didn't consider anyone his friend BCA friend needs to embody total physical, spiritual health, to be considered that. Yeah, another time he told me he was an ex-alcoholic. Found out he ate pretty much spelt bread, honey, and bee pollen every day. Lived in a room in a basement that was pretty much just all plants. Weird guy. Few years later there were posters going around that he was stalking underage girls, following them home at night. One specific set of girls, also. Someone was warning the public. Honestly, I could see it. Another time I met the most unassuming person. They put me off at first, but it's because I realized. They reminded of me later. It was part of a group of mostly city workers, trades, etc. It came out that he was bi. Then slowly everyone started coming out as bi. Turns out, the one guy also did drag, had been to a ton of per guys and slept with at least 30 hookers, as well as was the third in a lot of unicorn-seeking couples. He said he lost count, but had been kith over 100 people. I think the orgies were a big counter to that, unless he didn't count those. The most unassuming guy, but you never would have assumed by looking at him. Once that top popped, it was story after story of sex, drugs, couples asking him to sleep with them on their wedding night, traveling, meeting semi-famous people. As far as I know, he was up in Yukon last. What else? I've backpacker through BC. Besides the dangerous parts, there was a guy in Salt Sting Island that came up to me, asking, "Would you like to see through time?" I said, "Sure." They spin this wooden thing in front of my eyes, while playing didgeridoo, with eyes closed, and it made weird patterns. Like the Doctor Who opening. He asked for change, and I had exactly 250 or so on me. Enough for Greyhound back because I was not hitchhiking or biking anymore. I was absolutely done. So I said no. Also later that day, saw a parade of people in long flowing fairy wings, stilts, etc., wandering through a field, then performed for a bit, then went into a building. And I fed swans by the ocean zucchinis. Pretty interesting day. What else? I had a mushroom party at my house once. Can't remember a lot of went on there, but someone intentionally drank a beer with a cigarette butt in it, then threw up. Thankfully in the bathroom. Yeah, no warning either. Just, there's a cigarette in that. Small pause. Downce it. That was great, my friend. Also, I said explicitly not to bring people if they were invited. No one was allowed +1, etc., unless I said okay. They invited someone to come. Anyone else? I would have said no, but they were a good friend, so. Later I found out, not only did he meet him that day at the bar, but it was his first time with mushrooms. I got so upset. Before that I was talking in the kitchen with them. The guy interrupted me, walking forward saying, "Whoa, whoa, what sweetie?" Something close to that. Then my bud just backs him into a corner and says, "Don't you talk that way about my little sister." I got super happy and said, "Thanks name," then floated outside to the fire where music was being played. Missed the fairy house. I have a lot of stories, but those are some memorable. Beside a barn party, some place called On Now Way where the ride was taking forever, already he late, then stopped at a fundraiser where I met my soulmate. We're together, still today. Nah, just kidding, yeah. Turns out he was an ass, but very serendipitous. We met there, then went out for one date, then never messaged him back. 2 months later met him on Xmas when I was depressed. Friend from 1,200 kilometers away, burst in my door, kicked it open, no idea it was unlocked, said, you're coming to party with me, let's go. Was a surprise. Had no idea I would see him at the liquor store before going. And they knew the other person who came with. So I had no choice but interact with him, disheveled, because I didn't expect anyone to see me. I knew. Very stupid. I knew a lot people at the time closing parenthesis so he was invited to the party. We talked all night. My friend gave him what I could only imagine was talking of a lifetime. We spent the next few days together. Was going to go back with my friend to their place and move away. But then they left before I could hitch a ride. 2.5 agonizing years later, after COVID. Turns out, guy sucked. Haha. Missed that house though.